So we have been on this Guy Hollingworth journey now for days. And that's only because we're talking about a man who has so much material and just so much great material. He was, he is and was kind of a huge star in magic. And I'm sure and I've seen him on multiple times on television and all kinds of things. So he's a big magic star, and there's no doubt why. It's because the guy delivers in every way, shape, or form. Everything he touches turns to gold. Guy Hollingworth, pretty amazing and inspiring for sure. So we've been watching a lot of Guy's material the last few days, and finally, we're calling this the end. It's really the end all be all, because these are the routines right here I've been waiting for. You know, Alex?
Yeah, there's a couple of goodies in here. We're going to start with one that's just another, great example of Guy's skill, his dexterity with cards. And then we're going to get into something that's, if you haven't been exposed to it before, it might open your mind to just a new way of thinking about magic. I know it did for me, and I don't want to say too much more without you guys just seeing the thing. You should be entertained by it first, and then we should dig into it and talk about just the concept that's going on there. But let's watch that first clip and watch Guy do some wonderful, dexterous, beautiful magic, visual magic.
Moves. So here's a little trick. A card trick, as it happens, no great surprises there, which uses 4 aces, which go back into 4 different places in the pack, just like that. And in time-honored tradition, they're of course squared into the pack and given 1 or 2 cuts just to make everything as fair as possible, which, as you well know, of course, is not very fair at all, but nonetheless we do like to try and keep up the pretenses. And to make things still fairer, we're actually going to use the card case to put the cards away in the box, making it impossible for the aces to go anywhere. And yet, despite the seeming impossibility, they will vanish from within the pack. Watch carefully. And yes, they have indeed vanished from the pack, and they have now reappeared in different pockets all about my personage, meaning that, strangely enough, there is already 1 card in my inside pocket, the Ace of Spades. Another one in this inside pocket, the Ace of Hearts. Right down in the trouser pocket, ace number 3, the Ace of Spades, and last but by no means least, there it is, the Ace of Diamonds.
Wow. Clean, huh?
I don't think it gets any cleaner.
Right.
But, to his defense, that's a difficult version. I mean, there are many versions of that trick out there that is definitely a difficult version of it, I would say, right?
Yeah, he's doing there's a lot of dancing happen between him and that coat, right? There's a lot
There's
of stuff.
A lot of this. And then what about this, right? And then did you see over here?
It's the trade-off, right? Because he's doing all the work up front, right? As opposed to doing it as he's going. And that's the trade-off, is that you have to do some of those kind of shows like that. But I think it's perfectly natural. I mean, we're being facetious. We're magic guys, and we're, giving Guy a good poke. But I mean, really, what a great handling. And if you're thinking about that trick, I think that's probably a handling that's worth looking into, if you like the effect of the 4 aces going to the pockets.
What about difficulty level? I mean, like if I wanted to tackle that, I don't know the method behind it or anything. I mean, I do know it, but I haven't read it, is what I'm saying.
Well, here's my point is like, usually when you're doing an effect like that, there's 4 cards going to 4 pockets. That's 4 different times that you're going to have to steal that and go to the pockets, right?
Right.
With this one, he sort of gets everything done up at the front, and then there's the dancing behind the jacket, right? So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off, but if you're not someone that's comfortable with palming a card out, let alone 4 single palms, or at some points getting 2 ahead. But I mean, still, if you're having to hold out and palm like that, and that's an uncomfortable thing for you, but you still want to do the trick, I think that this is probably an interesting avenue to go down and try out. But having said what we said before, I think we should get into this next one, because this is the big dog. This is the one that I have a feeling is going to be some good conversation after we're done watching.
Okay, this is going to beat you guys up. I saw a guy do this at a magic convention in the early 2000s, late 90s, and this beat me up.
You saw him do it on stage, and you were fooled by this.
Fooled, yeah.
Good. That's
fooled.
Beautiful.
And all you had to do was sort of buy his lecture notes at the time to to learn it.
Be let in it. Right.
It wasn't like I had to search day in, day out for it. But once I learned it, I said, man, this is devious and good. Okay, let's watch it. I'll shut up now. I think we'll talk after. You guys are gonna love it though. If you've never seen this, get ready. Get ready. Here it goes.
Has been rife with jiggery-pokery. So to ensure that this is not the case for the upcoming experiment, as I say, I should like to impose upon a couple of members of the audience, perhaps to give me a hand and to make sure that everything is indeed above board. So I wonder, sir, would you mind awfully just coming and having a seat up here? That's lovely. And I wonder if there's somebody else over here. Sir, a gentleman there, looking like just the person. Why don't you come and have a seat over here? A big round of applause for my willing volunteers. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Now, as I say, it is your job to make sure that everything that I do here now is scrupulously fair. At every point, I'm going to explain exactly what I'm going to do beforehand to make everything as fair as possible. When I've done this trick in the past, in fact, quite often people have been heard to say afterwards, gosh, that was fair. Just to give you an idea of how fair we're talking about. So, sir, I'd like to start off by asking you to choose a card in the fairest possible way. I'm just going to spread through the cards. I'd like you to touch the back of any one. Now, don't let me influence your decision. You can wait right till I get to the bottom. You can change your mind. You're taking one quite near the top there. Is that the one you want? As I say, you have the opportunity to change your mind if you'd like one from further down. I don't want to rush you. You're sure? Yeah. You're happy? Mm-hmm. If you're happy, then I'm happy. Perfect. I'd like to show you the card. I'll show it to a few other people as well. Make sure that everyone can see the card over there. And you as well, sir. Just have a quick look myself. No, it is fair. It really is fair. The reason that it is so fair is because I would like you, please, sir, to sign your name. Put your signature along the bottom of the card as if you were signing a check for me. That's perfect, to authenticate it. And I'm sorry, I'm completely ignoring you there, sir. That's beautiful. Are you by any chance a doctor, sir? Marvellous. Your job, sir, is just as important because you're going to tell me where in the pack the 2 of diamonds is going to go. So as I riffle my thumb down the corner of the pack, you will call stop. At exactly the point that you call stop, I shall place the signed 2 of diamonds back in that position, very slowly. Right there, near the top. Right back in there. Okay? All fair? Unless, of course, you were to think that somehow I could estimate the approximate position of that card, or possibly even count very quickly with my thumb so I would know exactly where it is in the pack. Obviously, the thought has never crossed your mind. Maybe I flatter myself, I don't know. But just in case you had thought of that, what I'd like you to do is to cut the cards. You can cut them absolutely anywhere, it makes no difference. And then just to complete the cut, sorry, it's a bit tricky on this table, but just cut the cards any way you like, and then put the other half on top. And you can do that again if you like. It's up to you. You can leave it. You're happy? Do it again. Perfect. Why not? And again if you like. You're sure? If you're happy? I'm happy, remember. Okay, I'm going to spread the cards out so that we can't change the order. We know that that is indeed the order that the cards have been randomly put in. Now, I do need the assistance of 5 other members of the audience, but don't fret. You can stay exactly where you are. And in fact, I can see a groupette of about 5 people sitting at the back there. You can stay where you are, but I'd like you, if you would, to think for me of a number between 0 and 10 inclusive. Now, when I say inclusive, I do mean, of course, that you can say 0 or you can say 10. But it must be a whole number. No fractions or decimals are allowed. And no irrational numbers like pi or e or I or complex numbers with square roots of negatives. But within those bounds, any numbers that you like. And I'm actually going to write them down on a piece of paper, starting with the gentleman at the end here. So if you wouldn't mind awfully, a number from 0 to 10 inclusive. Go ahead. A number 3. Lovely. Put number 3 over there. Madam.
8.
An 8. A very fine number. And, oh, you can say the same numbers more than once, by the way. I didn't make that clear. Any number that you like? Okay. A 5. A 5, going down there. And, sir, one for you.
8.
An 8? Lovely. And, sir, I'd like you, if you would, to think for me of a number between 0 and 4 inclusive. Now, don't take that personally. It's not that I think you can't handle the bigger numbers or anything. It's simply for a reason that will become clear in a moment's time.
2.
A 2. A very fine number 2. Okay. Random numbers that I think you would agree nobody could know. Now, of course, it's my job to add those numbers up. The 3 and the 8 giving me 11, 16. I make that 26. Is that correct? You have now unwittingly just witnessed the most impressive part of the act. Thank you very much. The point is It occurs to me that this pack of cards has had 8 cards removed from it, meaning there were 52. There are now 44 cards left, if you think of it, because of the 8 that are currently adorning the other tables. 44 cards in the pack. Now, if you think about it, it is possible that all of these people could have thought of the number 0. Unlikely, but nonetheless possible, in which case the total would have been 0. Equally, you could have thought of the highest numbers possible, in which case if you'd thought of a 10, and 10 would make 20, 30, 40, and your 4, you see, sir, would make 44. The point is, this is a number somewhere between 0 and 44, which corresponds to a position within this pack of cards. So I'm going to count down to the 26th card in this pack, okay? Make sure I do this very carefully and very fairly. Counting down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. That card there, I think you would agree, is number 26. Okay? Now, I don't want to touch that card myself. I wonder if you'd like to just slide it out so I can't get anywhere near it. I'll just take the others well out of the way. In fact, you should probably keep it to yourself. Pick it up, but don't let anyone see it. Keep it sort of to yourself like that. In fact, you should stand up, because this is the big ending. Come to the front. Remember, this really was a randomly chosen card, signed, lost in the pack, mixed up by yourself, sir. That really is the 26th card. 26, a number generated randomly by these people. For the first time, would you like to show them the card? How about that? Is that all right? Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. And to you, sir, thank you very much indeed for your help. Very kind. Beautifully done. Excellent. Thank you. Gosh. That was fair. It was, wasn't it?
Fairest thing I've seen all day.
It's pretty fair. You guys ever seen anything like that? So
It's as clean as it can be. It's
It is.
Dual reality is the phrase you were looking for.
Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. So when I saw it, what I really thought was so great about it was that while he does this in a very fair way with it sort of card at a number that's determined by the audience, you could also have this be a card that appeared anywhere. It can be a card to impossible location. So he could have done the same thing. He could have had the gentleman sign the card. He could have taken that card, putting it back in the deck, and then he could have snapped his fingers. There could have been a piece of fruit across the room that you could have gotten the fruit, opened it, and the card would have been inside, or an envelope that someone in the audience was holding. So really, it's a card to anywhere, right? That's really what struck me about it, is the potential of the method,
Well, the method is the title is the method, right? It's dual realities. Basically, the guy that signed the card, his reality is different from every other person in the room, right? Everyone else is seeing a picture that the guy that signed the card doesn't see. If you watch the clip again, when we go back and watch this after we're done with the show, you'll see that guy blocks that guy's point of view from ever seeing the card when it's not his signature on it. And because of that, he can have the conditions be so fair because he just has to switch it in at the very end to show the guy the card, right? I mean, it's really an elegant method for magic, because everything can be so clean and so fair. The conditions can be whatever you want. And I don't know, to me, when I read that, my mind just went spinning. And I think for like a month, I was like looking at every trick going, well, what if you made that one that? What if you did that? What if you, and it was, just changing things up by having that potential, it just really, it blew my mind.
Well, and furthermore, once I honestly don't know. Let's just take a quick survey because we have a bunch of magicians here. So how many of you guys ever have heard, put a 1 in chat if you've ever heard of dual reality? Okay, and put a 2 in chat if this is the first time you've ever heard of it today and first time you've ever seen it.
There's a few people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It is a method that's used in mentalism, but it's pretty obscure. You have to be into mentalism for a while before I think you bump into guys that are using that method. But to see it purely in a magic effect like this, guy was the first one to the punch on that. And that's,
Hmm.
And to me, I didn't have the experience that you have. I didn't get to see him lecture. To me, I bought the book, and I think he has it like it might be in like the introduction. It's not even in a trick. It's like, no, it's that voodoo card that you did. That's the one that's like hidden in the introduction, right?
Yeah.
That book is so cool. Like there's just stuff hidden throughout the whole thing. I love it. But I read that concept, the dual reality, and it just, I was like, oh, I got to put this book down. No more magic, no more methods. I got to just swim in this thing for a while because, I'd never encountered that as a way to have have a card be in an impossible location like that,
Hmm.
because I think he has it like what is it, like in an envelope or something, or it's like in a box on the table. I don't remember what it is in the book, but it's like, I don't think it's the number thing. I think the number thing is what
Right.
he was using for magicians at conventions, right?
Yeah, yeah, you're exactly right. There's also a well, I think the number, there's a little something added extra to the number thing too. You have to realize too, like that it's not just the DR in action. Okay, there's one more piece of methodology added onto the top of that in order to do that particular presentation. So
No doubt.
that's why he chose that presentation for magicians, right? Is because not only is the DR killing them, then you've got this one extra piece of technology which helps them get the number where it is. And it's
And
pretty
let's talk about that trick, right? I mean, you never see anybody do that trick where they can spread the cards on the table and touch them 1, 2, 3, 4 and get down to the number. That's an impossible way of doing that trick, but it's possible because of the methodology that we're kicking around here and speaking of the guy has going on. But it makes that effect so much better than it ever could be. And I think that's the point of using that method, is that you can clean up any effect and make it basically a miracle, right? You can get to the miracle status with any effect if you're using that principle.
And
Really something.
the other thing about DR, Alex, is that you'll notice that somewhere right around the time that guy was doing this, we started to see uh, this thing sort of emerge on television too. We started to see Darren Brown
That's right.
start to embrace DR fully in his shows that he was doing and taking it to the extreme in ways that were never thought of before. So Darren Brown really took this concept and made it into something that was, just thought out in every possible scenario and used in every scenario. I don't recall seeing it before Hollingworth though, like used by Copperfield or Henning or any of those people on TV, right?
Yeah, I think he's the first one that really brought it to straightforward magic effects, and if it wasn't a thing that existed, it's something that's been in print and forgotten about a long time ago, right? So if he resurrected it, even better. But I think the fact that it's, mentalists are using that because, if you think about like a mentalist, a lot of stuff, it's slips of paper, they're writing things down. You're having someone look at a piece of paper, the audience sees something else. That lends itself to that. But with it being in like a card effect or just a straightforward magic effect like that, that was new to me. I didn't see anyone in Magic do anything like that. There's no one on
So
TV that's doing that.
I'm curious. I'm curious. Out of all the people that are here today, put a 3 in chat if that fooled you. Like for the guys that don't know what DR is, put a 3 in chat if that really did fool you. Okay, good. Well, we'll have something to talk about in the after show, won't we?
That's right.
Okay, good. All right, let's move on because the last trick we're going to watch of guys really should be the last trick that you ever watch of guys. Don't you think?
It's the Cadillac. It's the one that I think it's really the one he made his name on, right? This is really why Guy is famous, is because of this trick.
Good. Yeah, he is definitely famous because of this trick. And talk about, another example of Guy really setting a precedent where it started a sensation in Magic, right?
Well, let's watch the thing because I have some other history that goes along with this because I was obsessed with this trick.
Yes.
But let's watch the thing first and we'll talk about it because I have some other inside baseball info on this thing too. It's kind of fun.
So, Clive, maybe you'd be kind enough, in time-honoured tradition, just to take a card out
pick
for
a card.
me.
Yes. Okay. I always think if I pick the middle one, you'll be expecting that, so I'm going to go for that one.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Have a look at that. You can show it to me. Actually, it doesn't matter if I see it.
King of Hearts.
King of Hearts, perfect. And would you be kind enough just to sign your name? Actually, maybe you'd sign it on the top as it's a court card, just so that we can see the signature. I don't think that I was cheating at all. Perish the thought.
There we go.
Perish the thought of him cheating.
Oh, thank you. And the idea of the trick is very straightforward. I'm going to take the card and fold it in half, just like this. That's perfect. And then I'll fold it in half again, which, with any luck, if my basic mathematics serves me, would make quarters. And the reason for doing this is it gives me these creases down the card, which would allow me to tear it up if I wanted to. And as it happens, I do. I'm going to tear it just down the middle, like that. And I hope you can see that really is a genuine tear, by the way. Sometimes people think I haven't really torn the card, it's just an illusion, but I really have torn the card. And if I continue to tear it down the middle like this, then that would make two separate pieces, or two halves of the card. And if I put those two pieces together and I tear them like that, then that should make not two but four pieces, or four quarters of the card. And the idea is to take them one piece at a time and to try and fuse, almost if you like, to weld them back together to how they were before I tore them up. Thus raising the question, well, why did I tear them up in the first place if I'm just going to put them back together? But bear in mind the trick is not nearly as impressive when I do put them back together, if I haven't previously torn them up. Just thought I'd mention that. Watch these two pieces over here, and they should just about fit like this. That's 1 and 2. And if I give it a little squeeze, they actually stick back together. Let's try that again with the next corner. That one fits just over here. And if I just give it a little squeeze there, you can see the front and the back. No glue, no tape holding it together. The last piece, of course, is the most difficult because there are two edges, which makes it twice as difficult. But hopefully you can see that really is the missing piece that fits in the corner there. And hopefully you can also see your signature down there at the bottom. And if you watch closely, that's the first edge. That should be the second edge, meaning the entire card is completely restored. And with any luck, it'll never fall apart. You can keep that forevermore. Check it out. There it is with your signature, all back together, all in one piece.
And that is my card. I'm going to check it. I'm sure there's a secret compartment somewhere in here. There's another card masquerading.
So.
No, just one card. Amazing.
Come on.
It's so good, man. It's really just the best one of those, I think. But the trade-off is that it's the hardest one of those things. So
Yes.
there it is.
Yes. Wow. It's you know, it's a beauty to watch. And I have to say, I mean, that the camera being so close was a little unkind to him, but he handles it with aplomb. You know, he's aware of it. And I've seen him do that lecture. I've seen him do it on stage, and I've seen other videos where you get like a straight on shot of that. But that camera work was really in there, really close.
Yeah.
And he handled it.
Well, he has a couple little touches in that performance that I haven't seen anywhere else, where he's just basically any moment that would be weak, he's like just doing a little jerk or a little movement that you can't focus in on any of the dirty work. You know, it's really good. He's really awesome, man. And that trick, I saw Guy Hollingworth at a convention. He wasn't lecturing. He just had a booth at this convention here in Northern California, and he was selling that trick. But it was at the beginning of him selling that trick, and he made this agreement. He said, "I'm only going to make like 300 or 500 of these, and that's it. And I'm not going to sell it again for at least a decade." And he made it was VHS tapes, right? He had 300 VHS tapes, and he sold those out, and that was it. And it wasn't available again for a decade. Those 300 people had the routine, and that was it. One of my really good friends who he had this huge library. He doesn't live here anymore, but he lived here for like 20 years. He was one of those 300 people, and he had that video, and I knew I had access to something special. So that's when I learned it. I was a young man, and I really didn't know much about magic. I just knew I was in a special club because I had a buddy that had this special thing, and he allowed me to, use it and learn the trick. And, obviously we kicked it around and played with it, but, it was amazing. I had this really cool trick that no one else had. And there was something else that happened. David Copperfield did Torn and Restored card on television with Wayne Gretzky with that Honus Wagner baseball card. And that was, I was a young man and maybe a couple years into magic when that special aired, and it hurt me so bad. I couldn't believe that that was possible. And, I ended up meeting Chris Kenner after that and talking to him about the trick. And like, I kept on coming back to him, trying to like figure it out. And I'd like say, all right, man, I think I got it. I think I know how you did it, and he would see me show up with all these weird little cannibalized gaffes that I made when I try to, say, all right, man, I think you're doing this, and I think it's this and this and this, because Chris invented that trick for Copperfield, and he was sort of one of my early teachers in magic. He would basically talk to me about magic, and I didn't have many magic teachers in the beginning because there weren't that many hardcore guys in my town. There was a couple guys at the magic store, but I'd find people outside of my town, and I found Chris Kenner, and he's the guy that like told me, do you know magic conventions exist? I was like, what do you mean magic conventions exist? Like, he was like the guy, he like opened my mind up to like ways of being a magician. And I just
Right.
didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know, and he told me at a certain point, he's like, because I started telling him that I'm working on Guy Hollingworth's thing, and I'm, starting to get it to look nice, and, talk to him about it. And he knew all about it. And he's like, if I was going to tell anyone the secret, like, and I think it was just like a poke at me, if I was going to tell anyone how that thing worked, it'd probably be Guy, because he's the one that got closest. It's like, whoa. But then I remember having lunch with him and Don Wayne when Don was still alive, and he was there to consult on the show. They were putting new illusions in the show, and we're having lunch, and like, and I'm doing my same thing. All right, man, I think I know. I think it's this, and and Don's like laughing at me, and Chris is like, no, he's just a young magic guy. He doesn't know. I'm just helping him. He's learning magic. And Don was like totally into it, and he was totally cool. And then Chris like laid down the beat on me. He's like, the trick isn't how do you put that card back together, because you know how we put the card back together. The trick is where those pieces go. Blew my mind up. I was like, oh, right, I need to think about this for a while. I had nothing else to say. I ate my lunch for a minute.
That's pretty cool that Kenner was like being a good mentor to you. He was.
Well, he saw that I was in Northern California and I had all these books, and I could do some things that I just worked out by reading books and a couple DVDs here and there. And he just saw that I was hungry, and he helped me. Like, he was the guy that helped me meet Michael Weber, right? He's like, do you know Michael Weber? I was like, I have his book. I don't know anything about him. He's like, well, go to a convention, and when he's there, do this. I know you wouldn't do this because I know you well enough now, and I know you wouldn't do this, but drop my name. Go up to Michael Weber and say that you're my friend and that I told you to go up to him. And I did that. And I sat for like 3 hours with Michael Weber after that, and a session formed around us while we were talking because, I had the goodwill of Chris Kenner saying, hey, you're my buddy. You should go and experience this, and Michael Weber's another one of those guys that if you spend time with him, it'll blow your mind. It'll blow your whole head up. It'll make you rethink everything you know about magic, and that was the gift I got from those guys, so, and it continues on, it's one of the beautiful things about magic. But yeah, that trick, that one really was one of those ones that baked my noodle hard,